The lack of milk in the entire Lango, Teswan, actually has given people opportunity to ridicule us in public, especially our ladies. People are asking our ladies that they don't have NYASH, that they don't have what. How do we get this when we don't have milk to take? So it is recommended that government...
Honorable HP order. What is NYASH? That's to help our clerk to capture it very well.
It is from the NDP. This lazy approach of merely filling in the target outputs and indicator columns makes it difficult to assess the actual performance outcomes of the entities. For example, the Office of the Directorate of Public Prosecution set a target in numbers of prosecuting 120,000 criminal cases and 80,000 appeals. This approach puts pressure on the Office of the Directorate of Public Prosecution to prosecute high number of cases in order to meet the set targets, even when the cases do not disclose any offense and is worthy of prosecution. The use of numbers rather than percentages as indicators uniformly must be reviewed, as certain targets are better measured in percentages rather than in numbers and vice versa. Another big confusion, perhaps intentional, is the duplication of activities across different MDAs. Our recommendation on this for time is that the minority report recommends a comprehensive review of the monitoring, evaluation, and learning framework in the ministerial policy statements for the various MDAs to an acceptable SMART level. It is further recommended that the program-based budgeting be reviewed to align it with Vision 2040 and NDP 4 in its entirety. The second decent areas is key policy areas identified for reform. Area number 1 is procurement method. The minority observed that one of the foundations for corruption in Uganda is embedded in the procurement plans. The following procurement methods feature prominently across all the 11 entities: quotations, direct procurement, restricted biddings, individual consultancies, micro procurement. These procurement methods are carefully spread across different budget items, segmented to circumvent the full intent and import of the PPDA law for purpose of eliminating best practices in procurement such as fairness, competition, transparency, integrity, value for money, and accountability. And the whole purpose is to facilitate corruption. The minority recommends that Parliament rejects the approval of these procurement methods per budget item or departmental level. Procurements should take into consideration the aggregate worth of the items being procured, and PPDA is invited to urgently review the guidelines to prohibit this ploy within government. B is on consultancies. It is the observation and finding of the minority that consultancy services is gaining prominence in government expenditures at a huge cost. The government is capable of employing directly any skilled personnel it requires, just as it does with consultant doctors at Mulago. Specialists in areas of engineering, architecture, surveying, research, law, etc., for example, can be employed permanently within the MDAs to perform those tasks that consultants do at a much cheaper cost. The minority recommends that Parliament bans the practice of procuring consultancies and instead move for recruitment of staff on permanent basis with a pool of skills for the different fields to provide services to government in areas of need. Point number C on motor vehicle. The policy of government is that vehicles are used for up to 250,000 kilometers or 5 years. Additionally, we have seen procurement of luxury cars that has become a competitive phenomenon within government. As a result, some officials in government allocate more than one government vehicle to themselves for use by their family members. The committee did not find any information from the vehicle manufacturers that says vehicles get obsolete at 250,000 kilometers or 5 years. The minority, therefore, observe that further observe that scenarios of over-budgeting for replacement and acquisition of digital number plates are quite common. The MDAs have budgeted for 750,000 instead of the 150,000 for replacement of digital number plates. Digital number plates for new motor vehicles have also been budgeted for, yet a new vehicle is bought together with its number plate, which come fully registered. The minority recommends that procurement of motor vehicles by government be halted and no funds be approved for buying of new vehicles until a comprehensive review of motor vehicle policy is adopted with alternatives of best practices in acquisition, utilization, and disposal. The current allocation for purchase of vehicles in the budget be rebudgeted for to cater for specialized diagnosis and treatment machines for hospitals and adequate cancer drugs. Budget estimates for digital number plates must be revised downwards to the amount required of 150,000. Point number 3, donations. The minority observes the continuous budgets for donations. In most cases, the donation budget per office bearer is larger than the development budgets of a district local government, a hospital, or a university. Why allocate taxpayers' money to an individual rather than to a service area that benefits the general public? Why should an occupant of a public office, which office is charged with a duty to plan, budget, and deliver services to Ugandans, be given money to donate? Why not use your public office to donate the required policies and budgets to the health sector, to education, for treatment of kidney diseases, heart patients, education, etc.? The minority therefore recommend that all budgets for donations for the financial year 2025-2026 be rejected and government introduces a law to prohibit and criminalize donations out of public funds. C is printing and stationery. I will just read the recommendation. The minority recommends that Parliament approves 50% of the proposed budget lines for printing and stationeries and require entities to rebudget the other 50% to unfunded priorities. It is further recommended that government adopts digital mechanisms to eliminate the use of papers. Next is staff establishments. The minority observed that many MDAs have numerous vacancies in their approved staff structures. No significant allocations have been made to recruit staff to fill these positions. The big question then remains whether these vacant positions indeed requires filling. For example, the Parliamentary Commission was unable to avail the staff establishment to the committee. In fact, the Parliamentary Commission informed the committee that there will be no recruitment in Parliament in the financial year 2025-2026, although the Commission allocated money to an activity called CV screening in the budget estimate. It is also observed that Parliament is saturated with general administrative staff rather than skilled expertise. This is according to the NDP4 report, required to support quality legislative output. Similarly, the under-deployment highly skilled personnel staff in Parliament is worrying and is a recipe for attrition. In other jurisdictions, like in the United Kingdom, Parliament recruits and deploys persons with high level of education and experiences to support legislative work. The recommendation by the minority is that a comprehensive review of staff structures across all MDAs be taken with a view to ascertain the required level of staffing for each. Additionally, all MDAs, including Parliament, and without exception to any, should resume the best practice of advertising vacancies available and stop non-competitive recruitment methods based on alien considerations. Furniture and fittings. The recommendation is that government holds budgeting for furniture and develops a new policy on procurement of furniture with a view of creating uniformity in standards. The proposed budget for furniture and fittings for this financial year be rebudgeted to enhance salaries of primary school teachers. See, the next one is buildings. It is noticed that the MDAs are either constructing or have planned to construct new offices and residential buildings. Other MDAs are as well in the process of buying land. It has been observed that many buildings have unduly delayed, with others spanning as many as 10 years. The following buildings: the IGG building, the new Parliament Chamber building, the JLO's house, are all behind schedule. With some, like the Parliament Chambers, it was not even possible for the committee to verify the progress as reported. All previous attempts by the committee to visit the new chamber buildings were denied. The question is, what is that which is being hidden, yet an additional 20 billion is planned? The irony of all this, therefore, firstly is to ask the question, what happened to government buildings used by the past governments? Secondly, why is government happy to gift free land to private individuals around Kampala and turn around to require the taxpayers to pay to buy more land? The recommendation: the minority recommends that approval of budgets for acquisition of land be withheld until government avails to Parliament the full inventory of all public lands in Uganda. Further, no funds should be approved for the new buildings anywhere until all buildings currently under construction are fully completed. It is further recommended that stalled and delayed buildings should be inspected and audited by the relevant authorities to establish the facts, and appropriate recommendations be made before money is approved. Seminars, meetings, and workshops. It appears the modus operandi of government is organizing seminars, workshops, and meetings while offering zero service to citizens. Compared to other countries in East Africa, the government of Uganda is a leading convener of workshops, seminars, and meetings on a daily basis, whereas in Kenya, for example, it is the private sector that leads in hotel booking for workshops, seminars, and meetings. A serious government can't spend the entire week, Monday to Friday, organizing workshops, seminars, and meetings at the expense of direct services to citizens. The minority therefore recommends that government reviews the budget on workshops, seminars, and meetings with a view of scaling down and saving taxpayers' money with the associated idleness and wastefulness. The next is compensation of cattle in Lango, Acholi, and Teso. The minority recommends that government adopts a policy to pay all households a minimum uniform reparative payment of at least 6 cows per household, 2 oxen for draft, 2 cows for milk, nutrition, and 2 for livelihood security. If I may add, Mr. Speaker, the lack of milk in the entire Lango, Teso, and Acholi has given people opportunity to ridicule us in public, especially our ladies. People are asking our ladies that they don't have NYASH, that they don't have what. How do we get this when we don't have milk to take? So it is recommended that government...
Honorable HP order. What is NYASH? That's to help our clerk to capture it very well.
Mr. Speaker, NYASH has been defined NYASH has been defined as that body part capable of producing water.
And it's because of milk.
It is also recommended, therefore, Mr. Speaker,
colleagues, order. Let's listen to Honorable Jonathan.
The minority recommends that government adopts a policy to pay all households a minimum uniform reparative payment of at least 6 cows per household. I've mentioned 2 for plowing, 2 for milk, 2 for nutrition. In phases, it is also recommended to government to appreciate the missed opportunities out of the deprived ownership of the cattle, and government should offer special affirmative action for Lango, Teso, and Acholi in the areas of higher education. Next is funding of committees of Parliament. The minority observed that funding for the oversight function of Parliament through committees have been under budgeted for at 25 billion shillings for a total of 28 committees. In essence, Committees of Parliament, which are constitutional, have been allocated significantly lower budgets in comparison to certain individualized positions. Each of the commissioners of Parliament, for example, have been allocated personal to holder expenditures of 1.372 billion shillings, in total 5.488. The minority recommends that budget estimates of Parliament be reviewed to free more funds for committees. It is further recommended that Parliament provides a budget to committees, and that budget be ring-fenced for exclusive expenditure of the work plans of the committees to avoid the repeated encroachment and misuse of funds. Here, which I would like to highlight, is on activities and budget estimates that have been proposed for rebudgeting, and I conclude. The minority has observed that ministries, departments, and agencies have opted to budget for activities that do not form their core mandate. Parliament is invited to diligently scrutinize all the budget lines to eliminate unjustified budget allocations. In principle, the minority recommends to Parliament not to approve any further request for additional funding, as stated in the majority report, until all MDAs revise their budgets accordingly. Without prejudice, the minority provides the following hints and highlights to Parliament on the budget estimate extracted from the ministerial policy statements that are questionable and justified and inappropriate. First is vote 007, Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. The following items: medical camp, condom education, distribution and correct consistent use, promotion of condom, physical exercise and training of human resource, HRM in professional courses, has been advised for review, and those resources available to the same entity to reallocate to a more pressing issue. Vote 101, Judiciary, budget on donations and purchase of motor vehicles. Vote 102, Electoral Commission, the 45 billion shillings for sharing among the 7 political parties with representation in Parliament. There is non-adherence to Section 14A(b) of the Political Parties and Organizations Amendment Act, which provides for equal sharing. It is recommended that the 45 billion be rebudgeted to cater for critical areas, such as funding to Uganda Cancer Institute, Uganda National Organ Transplant Council, salaries for teachers, medical workers, policemen, soldiers, prison warders, etc. It is further recommended, especially for political parties with more than 20 million registered members, to collect membership fees from their members to finance their activities. Vote number 103, Inspectorate of Government. Uganda shillings 58.6 million under Inspectorate of Government for the activity termed condom distribution, and the reason is that condom distribution can be rationalized at no cost. Vote 133, Directorate of Public Prosecution. 30 million shillings for prayers, 50 million for planting trees, and 2 billion shillings for security. I would like to provide, in agreement with the main report on security, entities are spending a lot of money to budget over for payment of security. And I ask the question, who guards the police station if every entity is now asking for additional money to pay security officers to guard them? So who guards the barracks? Who guards a police station? In other words, if you aggregate all the money in the budget, I'm not talking of the 11 government spending, it can enhance salaries for police officers and the level of security can be upgraded. Vote Uganda Human Rights Commission. The budget line consultancy at 1.2, which was not justified. Smartphones, because they were also buying tablets. So smartphones and tablets can use the same thing. We allowed them to buy.
Honorable, conclude, because now you've gone so much into explanation.
Oh, okay, and portraits of the president. Now, 104 Parliamentary Commission. These are the budget lines available for review. The one of 5.48 billion for commissioners of Parliament. I've told you the formula of sharing. 10.9 billion for public relations and cleaning the image of Parliament. Let's just do the right thing, our image will be done. We don't need to pay somebody to clean. I don't know how they are going to clean that. 3 billion shillings for research. The following offices: Office of the Speaker, Office of the Deputy Speaker, Leader of Government Business, Leader of the Opposition, a total of 37 billion shillings, way more than 28 provided for committees to do work. This budget should be reviewed. Screening of CVs, 12 million shillings. Parliament is not going to recruit, so we don't need money for somebody to screen CVs. There is money allocated for engagement with CSOs. It is not the responsibility of Parliament to engage with CSOs and even fund them. Training of local government and exposure visits. And lastly, additional funding of 52.86 for activities such as modification of toilets at the south gate of Parliament. The last one is on Judicial Service Commission. I've listed them. In conclusion, humbly pray that this report finds acceptance in the conscience of the honorable members and accordingly be adopted in its entirety, in so just and faithful a manner as to promote the honor and glory and to advance the good for all Ugandans in whose interest Parliament is committed to their charge. It is so humbly reported, and this report is signed by one member who presented the report. I thank you so much, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Jonathan. We've learned from you how NYASH works, top of the serious issues you presented. Thank you. Honourable colleagues, I just want to, invite the Committee on Legal to visit the parliamentary chambers, okay? Because the committee raised it in a meeting with the Parliamentary Commission, and I told them it's available, they can visit anytime. So you can come anytime, there is nothing tied on a building which is standing by, just next door. Yeah, there's nothing tied. Number two, honorable colleagues, Article 155, Clause 2 of the Constitution says that budgets of statutory institutions shall be prepared and presented to the President, who will lay them on the floor through the minister responsible. And that's also in line with Section 19 of the Administration of Parliament Act. So the Commission did its work of submitting the budget to the President, and they will be waiting for the President to make his comments and return and deliver the budget here. So the Parliamentary Commission, before anyone recommends that you reduce man of the judiciary or Parliamentary Commission, which are statutory votes, the Constitution is very clear on how their budget is handled. Okay, so I just wanted to, but I have read through the reports, and I want to thank you, colleagues, for the issues. The only issue which I got concerned about was going beyond to go to all entities, because now we have here reports which we adopted saying we get more money for MDS to build their offices. Okay? We have reports which we adopted here, which we recommended retooling of MDS, buying cars for them. You have, for example, the judiciary, they've appointed new judges, they must have vehicles. Now, we have another report saying, no, don't do this. So I would request that when we are doing, we limit ourselves within our sector for now. Otherwise, we are going to have different recommendations adopted by this House from the different committees. That's the only challenge. Maybe at consolidation, Budget Committee will help to reconcile all these issues. So I just wanted to give those clarifications, and then I allow members. Honorable Sarah Opendi, Kayondo. I want first to give an opportunity to colleagues I had not given an Haj Idi, Honorable Mpindi Bumari, Honorable Mutembu. I first give these ones an opportunity, then I can pick more, of course.
Because I thought the purpose of why these reports are brought here is for us to either agree with the committees or not. And that's the whole reason why the minority report comes in, because there was disagreement. So I think there is nothing wrong with members discussing, just like we did for the Health Committee report, and said we must find money for the PET scan. So I want to entirely agree with the minority report on some of these, expenditures that create alarms. Just yesterday most of you saw the online news that commissioners had allocated themselves 500 million shillings. So if we don't discuss our own budget, at what point? We don't want a scenario, Right Honorable Speaker, where we shall be told again that you passed this. We still have a pending...
But Honorable Sir, I didn't give my opinion, okay? I told you your own law. If it was my opinion, okay, you would just let me get you your own law. So if it was my opinion, then you would say, Right Honorable Speaker. And I'm not saying you don't even discuss, but this is Article 155(2) of the Constitution. 1, financial estimates. 2, the head, 1 talks of the President shall be prepared and laid before Parliament in each financial year, the budget and that estimate. 2, the head of any self-accounting department, commission, organization set up under this Constitution shall cause to be submitted to the President at least 2 months before the end of each financial year estimates of administrative and development expenditure and estimates of revenue of the respective department, commission, or organization for the following financial year. 3, the estimates prepared under Clause 2 of this article shall be laid before Parliament by the President under Clause 1 of this article without revision, but with any recommendation that the government may have on them. So they will come here. You get it, Honorable Sarah? The President will raise them here. Then when he raises, we look at his notes, and you make your recommendations. So it wasn't my opinion, it was what the law says. But continue, Honorable, and you're free.
Only query is that at what point do we get to make an input in our own budget? Because as you can see, most of us do oversight work and there is no payment made. It's pending. And then a commissioner who is supposed to be representing us, the commissioners have 5 billion, 5.4 billion allocated to them. For what purpose, Right Honorable Speaker? And yet they are members of Parliament who belong to committees. Right Honorable Speaker, the other issue that I wanted to raise, I have seen under the Electoral Commission, the Honorable Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. It is good for us to combine these elections because when we combine, we save money. As you can see, 57 billion shillings will be spent when we merge the election of women councils together with other administrative units. If we do them separately, 45 billion shillings will be provided. So I want to recommend that we should merge these elections because, it's not complicated. It has been done in other countries successfully, and I believe it can be done. Right Honorable Speaker, the Minister of Justice is talking about the constitutional reforms. Now we are seeing a budget for Electoral Commission, 700 billion is being provided. Is this money adequate? I heard the Electoral Commission saying they don't have adequate budget to actually conduct the next year's election. Is this money sufficient? If it is not sufficient, how are we proceeding? Are we going to do away with these elections or what? Or extend or find additional money? What is it that is in stock for us? Minister of Justice also tell us, when are we having the constitutional reforms? Right Honorable Speaker, we've never gone into an election without reviewing our laws. What exactly is happening this year? Can we hear from the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs?
Thank you.
Minority report. It was straight on the point and it had a lot of intelligence. I want to deviate from it in one area where I talked about the restricted bidding and exposing all the procurements to open bidding. Restriction in bidding, it favors our local contractors. When you open it, you are exposing it to the international bidders and our local contractors will be kicked out. There I may not agree with you. And then restricted bidding, at times some work services and supplies are urgent in nature. So when you expose them to the PPDA TDS and bureaucratic processes, you may end up losing the game. Chair, I want to talk about the case backlogs, most especially the land cases. Since my Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs here, we have so many land cases that have taken over 15 years in court. People have died and left those cases pending, and even the heirs die, and the case is still continuing. What is the problem? And we have some election cases, Mr. Chair. Chair, I belong to Democratic Party. Mr. Speaker, I belong to Democratic Party. In 1980, we had a case. DP was taken to court by President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. By then, he was a honorable, where Sam Kutesa defeated him in Mbarara North. And he took us to court. Up to today, we don't have that judgment. If we defeated him, yes. If we defeated him, we want costs as a party. We need that cost. So how can we have 45 years down the road and we haven't received the judgment? If we defeated him, we want to give him the costs. I will deliver the costs myself to him. So we cannot have all that for 45 years and we are crying out to this. Then, Chair, lastly, my Speaker, lastly, the Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs here, when Honorable John Patrick Amama Mbabazi stood as a president, of course, DP we backed him. There are some recommendations, orders which were given by court. There were so many. Up to today, we haven't heard from the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. We are going to elections. And those orders, those recommendations were extremely sensitive when it comes to elections. I want to hear my minister commenting about those recommendations that were made, that were ordered by court for this Parliament and the ministry. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. A lot of issues is still demanding. You know, last time I remember he accused the NRM. You went to the bush to fight for the election that had been rigged. It was our victory which had been rigged. When you finished the war, you never handed over our victory to he wanted the NRM to hand over to DP the victory. So the issues are very many. Honorable Mpinde.
Recommendation of availing money to these government agencies to construct their own offices. Right Honorable Speaker, a lot of money is wasted in renting. I know we may not have the capacity to give all the agencies money now, but for this financial year, let us at least start with 2 agencies. They construct their own offices, and with that we will reduce on the burden of rent. Then another one is a sort of a clarification, Mr. Right Honorable Speaker. As if I saw that 4.5 billion is needed to have portrait for the president. Is it true or it is not true? 4.5 billion for just portraits of the president.
Thank you.
For the report. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to address myself to Article 87A of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda that establishes the Parliamentary Commission with the mandate of offering strategic guidance to the Parliament of Uganda. Right Honorable Speaker, I did listen to the submission of the minority report that raises a lot of policy issues and accountability issues. And I would really say that if all those issues were addressed by the relevant committee, the accountability committee, such that the Auditor General, if Auditor General raises them and the accountability committee looks at them, I think we can debate from a well-informed point of view rather than a sector committee. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to associate myself with the recommendations of the majority report because like you guided very well that you can only be wise or not wise to sit on a tree and then cut it. We are aware that Parliament is our house. So you cannot be very wise and sit here and begin looking at how Parliament operates within, because if you talk about the donations, where did these donations go? Right, Honorable Speaker, I have ever heard you donating to needy, donating to churches. I think these donations don't go to individuals. They go to the needy communities. So, right, Honorable Speaker, if a colleague suggests that this donation should be removed from the report, I think there are things that we should not really. I will give you clarification after my submission. Right, Honorable Speaker, the Parliamentary Commission thought it very wise that the offices that you occupy are very sensitive, and the requests that come to your offices, actually, they are not personal, and sometimes you come in to help the communities. Right, Honorable Speaker, you have ever seen, and colleagues, you may agree with me, members of Parliament are buying ambulances from their own salary to donate.
Actually, on the aspect of us availing funds for the means of justice to have regional offices. And this should not only be for Minister of Justice, but even DPP. My own experience as a practitioner is that you get caught one state attorney appearing before grade 1, appearing before chief magistrate, the same person is required to appear before the judge. So in that way, we are delaying the dispensation of justice. You'll have a judge, you'll not have a state attorney from DPP's office, you'll not have a state attorney for Minister of Justice. So for us to have real justice achieved, then we need to ensure that we also have the regional offices, we also have recruitment of state attorneys in these different departments. 2, the Law Development Center, I also want to support the recommendation by the committee of us having that building. It has taken, I think, about over 6 or 7 years without it being completed. And right, Honorable Speaker, once that building is constructed, then we are likely to get not less than 30 billion as NTR, because they will have so many students who will be paying, and in the process, imagine they only need little money for us to get 30 billion shillings every year out of, if we have this structure in place, meaning that we are going to have so many students admitted, and so many students are going to be paying, and we shall be realizing income out of the building. So I think I need to also support that recommendation that we must have that particular. Lastly, Chair Legal, I remember the last time when I was still on that committee, Judiciary came and informed us and assured us that every constituency will have a grade 1 magistrate court, and that every district will have the chief magistrate's court. Perhaps you update us if this has been implemented, and if not, what has happened, because people need justice nearer to them. Thank you very much. Maybe lastly, Right Honorable Speaker, the issue of visiting the chambers. For the last 4 years, I was on that committee. We tried as much as possible. We wrote letters. We did everything for us to access the chambers, the new chambers. It became...
Yeah, Honorable, I've invited Chair Rigo, even if you want tomorrow, okay, or after here. We can even walk there. Because you see, I don't want someone to paint a picture as if there is something being hidden. Okay? Yeah. And I extended an invitation. By the way, when we met with the committee, I extended an invitation to the committee. So if the committee had told me we want to come tomorrow, they would have come. So if they've not been allowing you, please, I allowed you, and I want to read you. And I take you around the building. It's there. You come and you see. Because the pressure, the pain you have, colleagues, is the pain we share as the leadership of the institution. It's the pain we share. And we took steps now. The progress that we have registered in the last few months, is tremendous, and it is because we changed, we now pay subcontractors directly. Okay? We no longer pay the contractor, then it pay the subcontractors. We've taken the model of Ministry of Finance, that's how they finish their building. We are paying subcontractors directly, and now they are all delivering materials that are needed to finish the building. And the progress is good. So for sure, tomorrow, if you want chair at 7, I'm around. After here, we can even go, we have rights, they work at night. We visit, and we visit in broad daylight or broad night, whatever you want, okay? Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, allow me to thank the chair and the entire committee for the good report. Mr. Chair, I tend to agree with the TESO. Mr. Speaker, the recommendation there really is like we have debated and proposed earlier for us to add. The issue of Lakwena war victims keeps coming up. And we always promised that yes, I will be the happiest and do recommend that we include Lakwena war victims. Mr. Speaker, that said, admonishing donations. Mr. Speaker, I disagree. I want to disagree. Mr. Speaker, I seek for your protection from Honorable Solo. Mr. Speaker, I want to disagree with the minority report when it comes to abolition of donations in most of the MDS and agencies. I know the three arms of government have been benefiting from this. It is being done in the executive. The head of state has been supporting so many disadvantaged people, marginalized people. In the judiciary, it is happening. Now, if we say we are getting rid of it, when last year this parliament participated actively in the run for cancer, run against AIDS by the Kavaka, the Menga arrangement, we all participated, and that contribution from Parliament was well received. I don't know when similar activities are organized where this money should be coming from. I think it is a good way of us interacting with the public through corporate social responsibility. So I want to improve our colleagues. More so, my brother, Honorable Odur, you've always given good guidance to this Parliament. But for today, I'm surprised that your minority report is really like my colleague observed, a monkey sitting on one.
Thank you.
The country is conspicuously very quiet about compensation of war victims in the West Nile. From 1979, there have been war victims in the West Nile. Nobody has compensated them. On 24th and 25th of January 1981, there was Ombachi massacre where 90 people were killed. Those have never been compensated. The victims of West Nile Bank front have never been compensated. Konyi war victims in West Nile have never been compensated. I had thought my good friend, Honorable Jonathan Odur, will not have restricted his report to Lango, Teso, and Acholi. I thought the Brotherhood of Northern Uganda would have included the West Nile. I am very surprised. For the first time, Jonathan is very selfish. So it's my prayer that this fund is established and the whole region is looked at. The president has just come from West Nile, and we have been reminding him of all these war atrocities in the region. You can imagine in the country, the warmongers are compensated, but the victims of the war are ignored. It is very absurd. So I want to thank the committee for that recommendation. On the minority report, I agree with Jonathan on a number of the recommendations. However, he has recommended a legal framework to regulate donations. In the absence of a legal framework, what are we regulating now? For now, we don't have a basis because the president's office is donating, the prime minister's office is donating, parliament is donating, even MPs are donating. Every Sunday, you're donating cement, you're donating iron sheets, you're donating so many things, you're donating money. So there is no legal basis for restricting donations for now. Until we have a legal basis, then we can be talking equally. But for now, maybe we can say, let us.
Thank you.
For the minority report, which also has some very good recommendations. Right Honorable Speaker, I'd like to address myself specifically on the allocation for financial year 24-25, which was about 40 billion, and that is something which was good enough just to help us kickstart the process of compensation in Lango, Acholi, and Teso sub-regions. This cattle compensation, yes. The next financial year, we are seeing a allocation of about 80 billion out of the required 521.6 billion. And that is way, way below. And I therefore would like to thank the committee for recommending that the total 521.6 billion needs to be allocated so that we can handle the outstanding bills, which is supposed to handle the compensation. However, Right Honorable Speaker, there are key areas, key issues which were raised by Honorable Jonathan in the minority report, and I would like to pick the one on discrepancies on the list of beneficiaries. While the report is indicating that about 24,000 have already been listed to be compensated, we've been hearing that that is not the right figure on the ground. There is also discrepancy on the list. Out of about 42,042, which were initially provided by the Attorney General, only 18,469 were approved, leaving out a total of 23,573, which I would like to request the Honorable Minister that kindly interest yourself so that we can see how to reconcile those figures. Otherwise, the 23,000 cannot proceed to fill out the data cards. They are totally left out as not being approved. And
Thank you.
With the majority report that has been presented to us. Mr. Speaker, I also entirely agree with you on your guidance regarding how budgets of the self-accounting entities, including the Parliamentary Commission, are processed, especially on the issue of the President giving us guidance before we finally approve it. Mr. Speaker, I also entirely agree with my neighbor here, my brother, who guided the House that it's not a good practice to sit in a tree and you go ahead and cut the same tree where you are seated. You either fall with it or it falls on you. Having given those three disclaimers, Mr. Speaker, I'm really surprised now when I go to discuss the minority report of my brother, Honorable Odur. There's a recommendation he gave on the issue of consultancy. And he said institutions should recruit full-time staff to do consultancy. I don't know how he defines consultancy. Consultancy is not something full-time. I have been in civil society. When you go to institutions, including the road sector, including the Ministry of Works, where the engineers, they also hire certain consultancies for certain services for a short time and they go. When Mr. Honorable Odur proposes that institutions can have full-time people to do consultancy work, I don't know whether he should be guided what consultancy is all about. Mr. Speaker, another thing I wanted to raise is already raised about the issue of donations. And people have really raised it very well. All of us are witnesses to this. Donations are done by everybody. And these donations go to our people, to our constituencies, to Ugandans. So when somebody says that donations should really be abolished, I really fail to understand that. Mr. Speaker, finally, we are under attack on social media. It is very unfortunate, and our rules are very clear here that we don't discuss social media propaganda. It is very unfortunate when we legitimize the social media information we hear and we discuss it here in the House, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I will beg this House that we really don't cut the tree where we are seated and we go by your guidance and the guidance, by the way, Mr. Speaker, of the presenter of the majority report. He really did it well, and I think if we had followed that, we would not have gone into all this, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Rico.
Right Honorable Speaker, the report of the Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs has been more precise, more straightforward, and in all its entirety, very easy to understand and comprehend. Mr. Speaker, I want to trust that the debate that has gone on here will greatly assist both the Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs as well as the Budget Committee to very much wisely and appropriately allocate the resources. Mr. Speaker, I would like to move a motion that, having delved into the debate of this report, Mr. Speaker, that we as a House suspend the process of considering the aspect of the sections of the minority report that deals with the statutory institutions until at such a time when we receive the figures of the budget allocations for those institutions, specifically the Judiciary and the Parliamentary Commission. And if we do that, Mr. Speaker, I beg that you do put a vote so that this House can be able to pronounce itself on the report of the Committee of Legal and Parliamentary Affairs. Mr. Speaker.
For you to propose amendments to the report, isn't it?
Mr. Speaker.
Can't it be a smarter way?
Mr. Speaker, I therefore, and I thank you for your guidance, I therefore propose that the two reports be considered by the House, but with an amendment on the section of the minority report which seeks for this House to have due recourse to the sections of the statutory votes, that is the Parliamentary Commission and the Judiciary, that those be stayed until at such a time when we have received the figures for those particular votes. Mr. Speaker, I beg to propose.
Thank you. Because I don't want, because our colleagues already got enough, because I heard that each commissioner is getting 1.3 something billion. Honorable colleagues, the budget is not for commissioner, it's for the commission which we have as a secretariat within Parliament. That's money where we have money, for example, for paying assistance of MPs with disabilities. That's where it comes from. That's a money, that's where travel also is, okay? And honorable colleagues, commissioners, there is nothing this commission has introduced that wasn't in the previous commission. Yeah, it just came here. But what I can guarantee, honorable colleagues, is that there is no special allowance beyond the regular allowances or special facility beyond the regular what the commissioners have been getting over years that is provided for in this budget. So I really don't want us to go out and we paint our colleagues in a bad way. This is a very sensitive period. We tarnish our colleagues, and I really usually feel bad when I see a colleague. When we say each commissioner, you get a budget of the whole commission, and then you say each commissioner getting this much. It's very unfortunate. Honorable Mpuga, you wanted to clarify further on that?
In doing that, it's unfortunate. If as a House we miss an element of courtesy towards each other, then we have no business being colleagues in this House. And somebody picks a microphone, whether he has read whatever rumor mongering on social media and makes it an issue of this House, and they speak in loud tone to appear as though they are authentic, they're unfortunate. A member said that he has even a sharing formula, and you member of Parliament, what's your name? You're unfortunate, Mr. Speaker. I thought, while we want to make Parliament accountable, we should never miss out on courtesy towards each other, even when we disagree on how Parliament works. It's very unfortunate. We restrain ourselves because we must work as Parliament. But when members choose to be personal, it's not acceptable. Right, Honourable Speaker, we restrain ourselves because we believe that we have a duty towards each other, even when we disagree. I can address you disagreeably but honorably, and I can never impute ill motive towards a member.
Thank you.
Right, Honourable Speaker, and that I request really members should try it. I cannot order them, but restraint. You cannot get a vote on my back that you won't be voted because you spoke so much about what you can't clarify. Right, Honourable Speaker, I chair the Commission Audit Committee. If I rose to say you did this, you did that, people will take flight. But then I understand as a leader why Parliament works the way it does work. And therefore, self-restraint. You can question, but you cannot say you have no capacity to understand. If you have no capacity to understand, then you have no business being here. I thank you.
Thank you. So, backbenchers, leader of opposition, Minister of Finance, Prime Minister, and all those are serviced by the Commission here. Okay? It has staff, it has obligations, and I want to confirm to members here that on what we propose to His Excellency the President, there is nothing like any special privilege or what for members. So, honorable colleagues, I want to, I had allowed Honorable Kabanda.
In thanking the chair for this very good report. Mr. Speaker, I would also like to talk about the issue of donations. The report on minority, they propose that the donations be scrapped off. Personally, Right Honourable Speaker, I don't agree with their position because members of Parliament, we also donate. Where do we get the money from? But what we can propose as this Parliament is maybe also members of Parliament should be allocated money for donations. Yes, because when we go to our churches, they expect you to donate the same way the commissioner is donating, the minister is donating. By the way, even when you attend the burial, Right Honourable Speaker, and they announce your condolences, that so-and-so, the MP has sent a condolence message of 20,000 or 50,000, they laugh at you, as if Parliament gives you money for burial or for donations. If this Parliament can accept, we don't remove the donations from the President, from the commissioners. The MPs also get money for donations. Because you are also donating in the churches. You also donate wherever you go. So, like the former law has suggested, don't be envious of others. You also propose for yourselves and see how to... Yes, but for you to stand here and say so-and-so is taking billions, that's not in good faith, unless you have an issue with so-and-so. But if we are here to serve the country, we can also donate, because if they give you this money, do you take it at your home? You end up donating to the community. So for me, Right Honourable Speaker, I disagree with the position of removing donations. The Speaker, I invite you to my constituency. When you come to my constituency, you give me 5 million, I start complaining. The Speaker gives me 2 million, I start complaining. Where do I expect you to get the money from? We should actually add you more money so that you keep sending to our constituencies. I beg submit.
Honourable Minister.
Kasa, all our
responses and answers are on record with the committee. There is no issue we did not deal with. Secondly, you stated clearly the constitutional provision relating to the budget. In effect, the President is really the Minister of Finance. He only delegates the Minister of Finance to act on his behalf. Thirdly, when we come here as ministers, it is fair to presume that we have exhaustively discussed these budgets in Cabinet. And the positions that we take in Cabinet, we take them to the committees, and then the committees embed them in the reports. I wish to report, Mr. Speaker, sir, that when I appeared before the committee, I got feedback from the members. It is through that interaction that it's my duty as a minister to go back to the President, and if he sees me appearing in Cabinet sweating and wounded from attacks from members, then I tell him we are not doing well. There are issues that have been raised. So during the Cabinet meeting of yesterday, I put to him the question of cattle compensation, because the committee told me frankly that we are a big joke when it comes to cattle compensation. They blasted me. They said the people are getting the equivalent of a thigh of a cow, that we are giving meat, not cows. So I went back to the President and said, Mr. President, I put the proposal to the committee that we need, particularly for the most affected areas, namely Teso, Lango, and Acholi. And Mr. Speaker, this is not to say the other areas don't deserve compensation. They do deserve, but Mr. Speaker, this situation is like a hospital. In a hospital, we have got the intensive care, we have got the high dependency, we have got the general ward, we have got outpatients, and some of the people in outpatients, you even find them smoking in the compound. They are asking, what time is the doctor coming? While in the intensive care, patients are dying. They are all patients, but the degree of affliction differs. I want to state clearly that in the Cabinet, all the other areas were mentioned, the places that deserve attention. I wish to report, Mr. Speaker, sir, that based on the motion I moved in Cabinet, the President has agreed that the budget will be 150 billion, and it will be shared equally in the 3 sub-regions to deal with the intensive care. It doesn't mean there are no other patients, because they are...
Honourable Minister, I don't have much time, please. Conclude.
I do believe, Mr. Speaker, sir, that this being about the budget and this being about priorities, it is our duty to keep persuading the President to change his mind. I want to thank the chair of the committee and members of the committee that you have been very persuasive. And even those who, for instance, author minority reports like the Honorable Odur, he is extremely persuasive. Some of his concerns, of course, are based on genetics, and I doubt whether they... I think we wish to salute the spirit in which we engage with the committee. So Lango, Acholi, and Teso will each get 50 billion because the real Minister of Finance, who is the President, has accepted your recommendation, which we discussed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. I'm giving 2 minutes.
that emerged in my report were all picked out of deliberations on the ministerial policy statements. And on the issue of donation, I was not meaning prohibiting anyone donating out of their private pockets. I wanted to deal with the institutional nature of donations. If I compute the figures for the entire budget, which I'm going to do, I've done only for the 11 entities. It's alarming, and I had this morning members asking for money for cancer, PET machine, for all this and that. That's the spirit in which I was saying that if we allow entities to keep budgeting, and for you, you're focusing on the top people, but even at the lower offices now, there are donations budget, and I invite your attention to scrutinize that. That's the spirit in which I raised that. On the issue of compensation, the ministry had proposed to us compensation of Lango, Acholi, and Teso. The committee could not open up and go to other areas. Otherwise, as a nationalist, and you know, as a member of the Congress, UPC, would love to be everywhere. And I would propose that everywhere we should have compensation if it is possible. I also must add that Lango, Teso, and Acholi, there were court cases. The compensation, most of them arose out of court cases that were decided, and these were 3 or 4 different court cases. But the minister has already assured us on how the other compensations would be handled. Somebody mentioned about consultancies. Let me explain briefly. In Mulago, you have a consultant surgeon, neurosurgeon, a consultant for the heart and etc. If you see the amount of money allocated for consultancies, and you referred yourself to that you worked in the NGO, I did for 15 years at the top executive at the NGO. I understand what consultancies are all about. So what I am saying is, instead of, if you aggregate all the monies for consultants, even for construction, for supervisory works in construction. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, I just want to plead that if it pleases the Commission, organize a meeting, a closed-door meeting with members, with the budget, and we speak heart to heart. I don't want to answer, but do that. I challenge the Commission. Organize a closed-door in the conference hall with the budget, we look through, and then we make a decision as members of this House. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I want to thank members for holding on up to this time to complete this report. Right Honourable Speaker, the Honourable Yusuf Mutamil raised the issue of the magistrate courts at constituency level. For the record, it has not been implemented, and that's part of the money that we are proposing in this budget to be added to enable them have courts at that level. But it also calls for construction of court premises in those areas, which we have not provided money for. Right Honourable Speaker, I thank you for the invitation to respect the parliamentary chambers. It's been an issue that has brought concern. We didn't want to report the Lubowa way, but I'm glad this invitation has been extended. And it actually came last week when we met with the Commission. So alongside other members, we'll organize a day and join you, and then we inspect the parliamentary premises to establish the physical progress. But we are also alive to the explanation that has been given and the new interventions that you have made, especially payment of contractors from the source, a method which was adopted by Ministry of Finance to complete their premises, and we believe that we're on the right track. We should have our premises concluded. Honourable Speaker, on the issue of compensation, the Teso area had court cases, but the Acholi and Lango was a settlement out of court and a commitment by the President.
Yeah, Honourable, just let's leave it at that. The minister has clarified well. You got more money for the item, so.
Okay. I want to thank the Honourable Minister for the additional effort raised to 150 billion shillings. That will enable each of the 3 sub-regions to have 50 billion, which will give us a proper foundation. The original arrangement was that the money be scattered in 3 financial years in equal shares, and it was slightly shy of 150 billion. I want to thank you for that effort, for the increment. Honourable colleagues, the Parliamentary Commission budget is our budget. Whatever the details that are in there, I have always implored you to have this discussion in-house to avoid unnecessary hullaballoos that come, especially with misinformation. And once we have that, then we can come out in the open. It's very important to have it in the public for everyone to know what is there. But after it has been harmonized, being a statutory budget of its nature. I thank you so much.
Thank you. Honorable colleagues, is audited by the Auditor General. The report is available to you. The budget is available. So we are just waiting for the President to conclude. What I didn't want was really to impute bad motive on commissioners, because, you know, whereas we can explain here, someone can say, oh, they have discovered. Now commissioners, last time got 500, this time they are getting 1.3 billion. And we are in a very sensitive period, honorable colleagues. Colleagues, I now put the question that on the budget estimates for financial year 2025-2026 be adopted with proposed amendment. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary nay. The ayes have it. The report is the recommendation for harmonization, for reconciliation, and ensuring that indeed all issues are consolidated by the Budget Committee. Honorable colleagues, House adjourned to tomorrow at 2 p.m.